Hi everyone, and welcome to the Vitality Festival's Chat Vibe series. We're here today talking to Sarasvati. Before we do that, I just want to tell you about our upcoming festival, which is on October the 31st, and we would love you to join us. It's a 9-day free online health and wellbeing festival for frontline workers and anybody who's needing a little bit of inspiration and support at the moment. We would love you to join on. You'll see at the bottom of this series there is a link that you can connect to, and the one really good thing is you don't have to attend all of the sessions. At the end of the festival you'll get a link which takes you to the recording of each and every one of the festivals, and you'll get access. We've got 70 world-class presenters who are partaking in this festival, and one of those is Sarasvati. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you, and it's very exciting. You've done amazingly well to pull that together, so congratulations.
You know what, it's actually been incredible, the support that's coming from all of the speakers and from so many other people who are acting as our ambassadors. It's really quite heartwarming when you think about the fact that there are all these people that are wanting to band together and to support these people, these frontliners, and everybody who's really been putting a lot into surviving through COVID. And I guess this Vitality Festival is imparting information so people can thrive in this time.
Yeah. Sure.
So tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Oh gosh, well, I've been teaching yoga and meditation since 2002, and before that I was a scientist, believe it or not, and funnily enough, followed on from being a scientist to doing a little bit of work, study and work in business, and I ended up walking away from a job that I had because it just wasn't feeling connected with what I was doing, and I really had no idea what I was going to do next. But when I created the space, funnily enough, it hit me, as things do, to study yoga, which is something I'd already been practicing but not studying. And so basically from there I started teaching in my lounge room in Glen Waverley at the time, and yoga and meditation. Built up a studio, Waverley Yoga Studio, which I did sell a few years ago. So now I'm more of a free agent again. And my real passion actually, Tanya, is sharing the inner freedom aspect of yoga and meditation. And lots of people come for the movement and that aspect of it, but I really get excited when people stay with the practice because they're getting some of those inner benefits. That's where my real area of interest is. But as I said, a lot of people get into it from physical movement.
I think that's particularly important at the moment because so many people are stuck at home or restricted in terms of where they can go. So the outside world is really shutting down around a lot of us. Yeah. And yet there's this access that we have to this inner world and exploring the inside part of us, which actually makes us a lot stronger as a person, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because we can see perhaps that it's all observable, and then we have a little bit of choice as to what we react to, what we respond to, what we don't. And we can feel like, I've seen it in the community, and this is, my reason for wanting to be a part of this with you, is, to see the level of stress in the community and to have a way of offering something that perhaps can help people get out of that stress response state. Yeah. Sometimes you've got to deal with that first before dealing with the inner stuff too.
Have you noticed quite a change through this time of COVID? What have you seen out there?
Yeah, well, certainly at the start of COVID, there was a lot of, I think it has changed, but at the start there was a lot of stress, just because of the unknown, and financial stress, but also stress about this illness and dealing with it and not knowing about how to deal with safety and everything. And so I immediately jumped online, and someone who's never done a Facebook Live ever in my life before started offering free sessions of yoga and chair yoga and meditation as well to try and sort of offer something. So there's 3 months of things that are sitting there stored that people can access anytime. But I'm not doing so much of that now. But yeah, I have seen people ebb and flow. And the Zoom yoga that I'm teaching, people tell me, you know, this is my one bit of peace and quiet for the week type of thing, and that it's really helping a lot. So it's what you can do.
Wow, incredible. And what would you say from this time for you, what's been your greatest challenge?
My greatest challenge personally has been accepting the fact that my son went ahead with his wedding in Chicago, and I wasn't able to be there. So physically, you know, sort of for me, that was the biggest personal challenge, but it was a growth opportunity, as these things often are, because, you know, it's his life, and we turned it into an occasion and made it special, and from our perspective, via, you know, the powers of the internet. And it was a tiny wedding. It was only ever going to be a tiny wedding, but we were going to be there. So that was challenging to move to a place of real peace and acceptance, and not a sense of having missed out, having regrets or anything. And now seeing them just happily married, I'm so thrilled that it all did happen that way. So I know that's a little bit maybe off topic, but, you know, life goes on. Also, my mum passed away, and my husband's mum passed away in this last 6-month period. So, you know, it's been a huge period of normal things that happen in everyone's life, but, you know, the way of dealing with them has been different.
Yeah, I think we've all had to learn to adjust and adapt to what's going on, and that's what I find one of the benefits of yoga. Just one of them is this, you know, being flexible, and just being even flexible to life in our mind and how we do adapt to things. And, you know, I think we're lucky because of the internet. You know, we're able to do this. You're able to offer your classes. You know, the Vitality Festival is able to go ahead. We can extend an olive branch to all these people that need it. You know, just because of how we've all had to learn to adapt to using the internet.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's been a huge benefit that people from all over have been able to connect and reconnect. Yeah.
Amazing. And so at the Vitality Festival, you're doing some chair yoga.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so chair yoga is a nice, easy, gentle way of getting some physical movement. And even though sitting in a chair isn't as dynamic, it's great because if people are tired, or if their bodies just don't work as well, or if they're, you know, just sitting at a desk, you can still move. You can take your body forward, you can take it back, you can twist, you can bend laterally. And so this gentle movement, as well as focus on the breath, and then as well as a mindful trip through the body, is all just great for supporting people's well-being. And I'd like to think that by the end of the session, their minds will have slowed down considerably, and they will also be feeling good physically as well.
That sounds divine. And do you think some of the asanas that you give to people, some of the seats, that they'll be able to use that afterwards as well?
Definitely, yeah. So, you know, just some simple things you can do with your arms if you're feeling a bit hunched over and tight, or if your neck's feeling tight, and we often carry lots of tension in our shoulders, don't we? So yeah, these are things that you can do in a minute or two to just
amazing.
Yeah.
I think with the practice of yoga, it's really grounding. You know, it brings you into your body. And I think so many people are so stressed out, and they're out of their minds, literally.
Yes.
You know, the practice of yoga is really good to, like you said, to bring people into that distressed state and feeling calm and relaxed again.
Yes, that's right. And we are running on adrenaline a lot of the time. There's a lot of that, even if it's not the full-on stress response, sometimes it is, but there's a lot of chronic low-grade stress response. And so the more people can learn to move into the parasympathetic nervous system, allow that to be the more dominant state, then of course that supports their well-being and their healthy functioning. So yeah, all of the above.
Fantastic. And what have you got that you're looking forward to in your life moving on from here?
For me personally, as I was saying earlier, my particular focus is helping people to slip back into that quiet, aware state of that I call sort of inner freedom, away from the drama, and figuring out some new ways of helping people to do that. So I am actually working on an online course at the moment, funnily enough, called Fluff Free Freedom. So that's something I'm working on, but I also am involved in, I think this is what you're asking me, what am I sort of working on going forward? Also involved in yoga teacher training with the Australian College of Classical Yoga, which is not, I work for them. So I'm, interested in helping people to teach yoga safely and well and with a full understanding. I'm always doing workshops for yoga teachers as well as my regular, I just adore my regular yoga and meditation classes. They're all online at present, and that seems to work. It's kind of a stress-free way of doing it because there's no concerns about infection or anything like that. And at some point, at least some of the classes will move back into in-person. But at the moment, I'm really actually enjoying the fact that we can all do it in our own spaces and not feel any sense of concern or worry about anything while we're doing it. We can really be present with our practice.
Beautiful. And behind you, I can see your book. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yeah, so a few years ago, I had a yoga student who unexpectedly passed away, not during yoga, I might add, but just to make that clear. But this was a woman who was in her early 60s, who was newly retired, who was really wanted to get to that nugget of personal freedom, that liberation. And Sunny was her name. And she was doing all the right things. She was studying a Master's of Buddhism. She was doing exercise. She was doing volunteer work. She ate well. And she unexpectedly died, just collapsed in a shopping centre and died. And again, like I said earlier, I had to make some space for the next little thing to come along. And I didn't know, we were all so shocked at yoga about this, and I didn't know, but it became the impetus for me to write my book because I felt that I didn't quite get through to Sunny with, wasn't able to hold her hand enough to help her get the understanding that I was, obviously it wasn't her time to get it, but it was an impetus for me. Once I sort of processed it or allowed some space, it sort of gave me the impetus to write about freedom in everyday life, and that's also sort of where I'm continuing on with my work. So yeah, that's my particular area of interest, and obviously well-being is part of it, and you have to meet people where they are in yoga. You can't start talking about something if someone's suffering and needs support in a different way. Then talking about freedom off the mat just feels like it feels like something completely unimaginable. So I have to do my work in a way that meets people where they're at, but also that offers that potential. So yeah, I've been very lucky to be able to write that book, and it sort of wrote itself, I guess, because it was ready to pour out of me. It's not something I didn't ever think, I've got a book in me, I'm going to write a book one day. I was never that person. Things just sometimes.
And tell us about your name. How did your name come about?
Oh yes, Tanya, gosh, I didn't ever think I would need a special name, a spiritual name. I was quite happy being Sally. But once on a yoga retreat many years ago in India with my teacher and a group of, I think there was about 20 of us actually, I had a meditation in which it came to me to ask for a spiritual name. And so I ended up asking my teacher for a name, and she told me she would she would meditate on it, and that, you know, sometime in the next little while, the next day or week, she didn't know when, she would give me a spiritual name. And so that night, it was one of those really hot Indian nights, and we were on really uncomfortable coconut husk mattresses, and not much sleep was happening. And it sort of came to me that my name was going to be Sarasvati. I had no idea that Sarasvati was a goddess of music and arts and education and creativity and all of these things. I had just heard, I think I'd heard of it, but heard of the name, but I had no idea about this. But I also knew that that was what my name was going to be. So it was very weird that, you know, some things just are not explainable, and sometimes you've just got to be okay with the fact that things are not explainable. And that's one of them. And so, yes, my name's now Sarasvati. I do answer to both. Some people still prefer to call me Sally. But what it has shown me is that it's reminded me that we get attached to a name and what goes with that name. And of course, it's a lesson not to get attached to a name and all of that, but it has probably for me uncovered some aspects of my personality that I hadn't previously allowed to become, you know, to present themselves. So, for example, I've written a book. Who would have thought? Not me. So there you go.
Yeah, love it. Well, thank you, Saraswati, for joining us here today. I can't wait to attend your session at the Vitality Festival. Like I said before, if you haven't joined up yet, just click on the link below. We're starting on the 31st of October and running for 9 days. We'd love to have you along. Thanks, Saraswati. We wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to being part of the festival, and come as you are in your chair. Perfect. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you.